Tool Talk with Katie, who loves tools.
Hey everybody, Katie here. Today I'm going to, in Tool Talk, chat about carving dishes or carving discs as they may be called. These are going to be used, all of these are going to be used with your standard 4.5 inch angle grinder. You can get cordless, you can get corded. That's for another episode, but today we're going to be talking about these. So I have a few different ones here with me. And these actually are different brands. These two right here are Kutzall, and this one is King Arthur. Now they're basically the same. They are carbide discs that have these like really, depends on how coarse you get, but they all have these like spikes on them. And that's what does the carving. All right, so let's talk about what the difference between the spikes are and when you're looking. First, we have these two. So this one is what they call a coarse disc, and this is what they would call a medium disc. I also have one that is fine. So basically the difference between like coarse, medium, fine, or extra coarse is the size of these spikes. Okay, so if I put these side by side, hopefully you can tell that the spikes on the medium or the red one are much smaller than the spikes on this extra coarse one. So the bigger the spikes, that means more material is going to be removed. It also means it's going to leave a rougher surface on the wood. So if you have a big project, you're going to want to start with something that's coarse or extra coarse because it's going to remove the most material, and then work your way through just like with sanding through the different grits. Next, let's talk about the profile of the discs. So you can tell the profile on this, if you look at the edge there, is much more rounded than the profile of this disc. Right? It's very similar to when you're going to put a profile on molding, like with a router bit, like you're looking at that side profile. And that is because these have different functions. So the profile of this more rounded disc is meant for things more like a bowl, right? That you're going to be kind of scooping out a large portion or a lot of material, and you don't want to like jab into the side as you're removing material. So this is more like a scoop function, whereas this one that has like the flatter profile is going to be used more on like chair seats because you're just mildly removing material from the surface and you're creating a smoother curvature, right? Because you're not doing deep curved surfaces when you are doing a chair seat. All right, so the other thing about, not necessarily about profile, but I did want to address in these King Arthur discs, this one specifically is called the Holy Galahad, and it has these holes in it, and there's a reason for those holes. That's because as it is spinning at 10 to 12,000 RPMs on your angle grinder, the holes make it so that you can see through the disc to the surface that you are carving on. There are some benefits to that, and being able to see the surface that you're carving on. You can tell like maybe you've got a spot that's a little lumpier than another spot, and so you can do it without pulling the tool away. You can adjust and smooth it out in the moment. Personally, it doesn't really matter to me whether I use these or the ones without the holes. I work the same. Thank you for joining me in this tool talk with Katie, and be sure to follow along with me. Hit that follow button so that you can see any other new tool talks that I come up with. Lots of questions were submitted, so there will be plenty more to come. Look forward to seeing you.
Tool Talk with Katie, who loves tools.